What if I told you there's a team that is forcing the most turnovers per game of any team this century and is averaging the most steals per game of any team this century, and it's not even close, that also ranks number 1 in deflections per game, number 1 in defensive loose balls recovered per game, number 1 in opponent field goal percentage, and doesn't just comfortably rank first in defensive rating this season, but has the best relative defensive efficiency of any team this century? I'd imagine you'd be pretty impressed, but hold on, I'm not done. What if I also told you that team hasn't had their best defensive player for more than half of the games they've played? What if I told you there was a period of the season when that team didn't have a healthy center on their roster and they weren't starting a player over 6'6"? Well, you'd have to say, to overcome that and still have those defensive numbers, that's one of the best defenses ever. But here's one more kicker. What if I told you that by raw average age, that team has the youngest roster in the NBA? Somehow, every word of that is true about the 2025 Oklahoma City Thunder. And it is that historic defense so far that has guided OKC to a 20-5 record, the best net rating in basketball, and the final of the all-important NBA Cup. There is a great deal that this OKC defense does at an incredibly high level, but if I had to single out their superpower, where they stand above even any of the other great modern defenses, it is in their ability to cause chaos. The Thunder probably have the fastest defense I've ever seen, and they're also one of the most aggressive. This is largely how they survived the 5-game stretch after Chet Holmgren got hurt and before Isaiah Hartenstein made his season debut. They were effectively starting 5 guards, completely lacking conventional interior defense, so they dialed up their aggression to a psychotic degree, blitzing elite ball handlers like hell, attacking the ball relentlessly, and in their first 2 full games without Chet, who was the Defensive Player of the Year frontrunner before his injury, they forced back-to-back opponents into 24 turnover games. On the year as a whole, the Thunder averaged 12.2 steals per game. No other defense this century has averaged more than 10.3. They forced 20% more steals per game than any other defense we've seen in the last 25 years. They are unmatched disruptors. And when it comes to that disruption, the Thunder's speed is their greatest asset, as alongside Hartenstein, they basically start 4 guards, but those guards are also long as hell. In their starting lineup, you have Jalen Williams with a 7'2" wingspan, SGA with a 6'11" wingspan, Lou Dort with a 6'8" plus wingspan, and Cason Wallace with a 6'8" wingspan. So in terms of length, they punch way above their weight. And when you combine that with their quickness and ferocity, you have a destructive defensive formula that makes OKC more effective sending 2 players to the ball than any other team. Because of how they can pester the ball handler with speed and length, and because of how those same traits allow them to recover after the double more quickly than other teams, they just swarm. They did this against Alperen Şengün for Houston. J-Dub brings a hard double here and forces the big man to dribble out. Everybody rotates over to take away the easy passing reads. And look at both Dort and Wallace here, in position to challenge the shooters, but also eager to try to interfere with this potential pass to Brooks. So this ends up being a confusing picture for Şengün, who's under pressure and basically throws it away to SGA. Again, look at all the long arms Şengün is seeing in the paint here. They muddy the picture, he gets off balance, tries to force this, and the ball-hawking SGA picks it off. As a smaller team, OKC doesn't have a conventionally great post defense, but they are consistently exceptional at doubling the post, using their speed and length to harass players and make up for what they lack in size and strength. Way back in their season opener, they had the defensive performance of the year on Nikola Jokic, doubling him like hell, but they're even more devastating pressuring perimeter players. before their defensive masterclass on Şengün and the Rockets, in which he had 13 points on 16 shots with 4 turnovers, and his team scored just 96 points in the NBA Cup semifinals, the Thunder held Luka Doncic to 16 points with 6 turnovers on 5 of 15 shooting in the NBA Cup quarterfinals. A huge component in OKC's success against Luka was their ability to blitz him over and over, forcing the ball out of his hands and putting the pressure on inferior offensive players to make the subsequent decisions and shots, with these uber-athletic, pterodactyl-armed defenders flying at them with lightning-quick rotations. I mean, look at this. Luka makes the perfect pass here, a jumping skip pass on a line right into Kyrie's shooting pocket, but Lu Dort is already sprinting over to run him off the line. But notice he also doesn't close out too hard, which would allow Kyrie to just blow by him cleanly. Then Hartenstein is in perfect helping position here. Lu has completely recovered, and the advantage is just gone. Kyrie kicks out to Klay for a perfectly contested 3 over SGA as the shot clock winds down. This could be the pass of the year from Luka, an unbelievable skip pass to the weak side corner, and look who comes barreling in from the other side of the court, Lu Dort, to somehow provide a good challenge on this 3 from Klay. On both of these, Luka made the perfect play, but OKC rotated so fast that nothing came of it. OKC deployed this same blitz-heavy approach in their playoff series against Dallas last year, and in doing so, they held the Mavs to easily their lowest offensive rating in any of their Western Conference playoff series. But they also got beat conceding too many open corner threes to PJ Washington and Derrick Jones Jr., both of whom, especially Washington, shot much better than their norm. They held Dallas's offense in check, but not by quite enough to win the series. But in the NBA Cup rematch, OKC couldn't have executed that strategy much better, and they just gave Luka hell in every way. On several occasions, they just completely anticipated a long-distance pass of his, and one of their athletic ball hawks leapt up and picked it out of the sky. OKC's defenders operate like a pack of werewolf-free safeties, ravenous to jump a pass or punch a ball out at any possible opportunity. They see chances to force turnovers that nobody else does. Caruso lingers in the backcourt to steal this routine pass. Jada pulls off some sleight of hand to swipe this away from Jalen Green. Shai slides over to poke out this pocket pass. All of these dudes have long arms and excellent hands, and they live to make plays on the ball. In fact, there are 9 NBA players this season averaging at least 1.4 steals per game, and 4 of them, J-Dub, Shai, Kaysen, and Caruso, play for the Thunder. And yes, all those guys have tremendous defensive ability, but I also think that stat reflects that it is just as much a collective mentality and non-stop motor that sets OKC apart. And the most psychotic, tone-setting defender on the team isn't even in that group I just mentioned. That's Lu Dort. Dort is hyper-physical and completely willing to leave his body on the line. Look at these plays from just one quarter versus Houston. He jumps on this loose ball, then 2 plays later, he draws an offensive foul fighting hard through this screen, then just a few minutes later, makes an incredible play, aggressively working to deny Fred VanVleet the ball, then peeling off of him the second he sees the ball is going elsewhere to get a hand in there and then dive on this thing. The instincts are incredible. The guy leaves everything out there, and that mentality is also very much shared among the entire team. I just have to spotlight this play quickly. Look, Caruso is on the ground for a loose ball here. 1 second later, he's popped up and flies in to alter this finish from Amen and force a miss. That is insane competitive fire, and it defines this team. Accordingly, as I mentioned earlier, OKC leads the league in defensive loose balls recovered per game, and they rank second in charges drawn per game. But while we're talking about Lu Dort, he gets the most credit for taking on the Luka assignment, having harassed him physically for most of their most recent matchup, but OKC as a whole defended Luka on an island quite well when they chose to, and they can do that because the Thunder have the single deepest group of high-level perimeter defenders that I've ever seen. Probably the most underrated member of that group nationally is Cason Wallace, who did an amazing job on Luka on this possession, erasing this space to easily block the step back, then sticking with him perfectly on this drive to force a tough scoop layup. But the perimeter defensive talent runs so deep. This is another ridiculous strength of the Thunder's. They only play good defenders. I mean that. Every single player in their core 10-man rotation is a good defender. It is exceptionally difficult to find an OKC defender you feel you can pick on. Everybody competes hard on that end, and they don't play any actual small guards. Their smallest rotation player is Isaiah Joe, who is slight, but is still 6'5" with a 6'7.5" wingspan. So everybody down to Joe and Aaron Wiggins and AJ Mitchell and Kenrich Williams brings positive defensive value. And then you have four absolute bulldogs on the perimeter in J-Dub, Caruso, Cason, and Dort, all of whom are playing at least within shouting distance of an all-defense level. So even if you're a team with two awesome offensive guards like Dallas or Cleveland, they are both facing elite perimeter defenders every minute they are on the floor. No other team offers that challenge. This play is a great demonstration of the caliber of each defender on the floor. Just a hilarious possession where the Rockets keep trying to create a drive and kick chance, but none of them can get a step on their defender one-on-one, so they just keep quickly passing out, and it results in a heavily contested step-back three. So because everybody is a quality defender, when it comes to defending screens, OKC can comfortably switch, but they also have some ridiculous screen navigators who are such experts at staying attached to their man that there's no reason to switch. Dort is phenomenal at this, as is Cason. He just shoots over this screen and closes this space to block another step back three. So their ability to guard pick and roll with two guards, if they're blitzing, switching, or just teleporting over screens, is unmatched. This is another insane Cason play. Look at this speed off the switch to get in front of Amen Thompson, the best athlete in the league. And with Dort in excellent helping position, Cason gets a strip here. I love this play too. AJ Mitchell is not fooled at all by this ghost screen, running with Holiday the whole way, and then J-Dub and AJ both prevent Houston from getting into this handoff. So this possession turns into Dillon Brooks trying to isolate J-Dub, who's pressuring him 30 feet out, turns him twice, and forces him to chuck up this tough runner. So in so many ways, this perimeter defense is extraordinary and without an equal in the NBA. But get this, the Thunder also have the lowest field goal percentage allowed at the rim, allow the fewest makes per game at the rim, and are fourth in the NBA in blocks. I want to give Hartenstein, who was just an excellent all-around basketball player, credit here. He was one of the most effective rim protectors in the NBA last season, holding players 11% below their average field goal percentage inside of 6 feet. And while he hasn't quite replicated that number this year, he has been good as a rim protector. He also has really good hands for a big, moves pretty well, and is an excellent rebounder. As interesting as OKC's no big defense was, they need a quality big on the floor to be dominant, and Hartenstein is that. So he needs his flowers, but a major reason OKC's interior defense has been so good, even in the absence of Chet, is their collective rim protection. There are 89 players in the NBA shorter than 6'7" who defend at least 3 shots at the rim per game and have played in at least 15 games this season. Of that group of 89 players, number 1 in field goal percentage allowed is Alex Caruso. Number 4 is Jalen Williams, and number 7 is Cason Wallace. So statistically, that's 3 of the 7 most effective rim protectors of that size on one team, and Dort, SGA, and Aaron Wiggins also all boast above average numbers among that group. And SGA is really quite good in that low man role and is averaging a block a game this year. J-Dub in particular has been exceptional as a backline defender, using that 7'2" wingspan of his to challenge drivers, and he's taken on the largest rim protection responsibilities. But all of these dudes are effective low men, good athletes with long arms and high motors, and everybody is involved. You'll often deal with contests from multiple defenders on any one drive because they're so active and aggressive helping. By the way, the proficiency of these guards and wings as low men is another reason they felt comfortable blitzing Luka and Kyrie in pick and roll so much. If they get the ball to the big around the free throw line to attack a 4-on-3, one of these dogs is going to step up, challenge his catch, and force him to make a move or pass under pressure, which is tough for a big. This is what makes OKC's defense unfair. Just about everyone is good at just about everything, and they're so damn connected. And I'm just gonna reiterate one more time, this is all without their best defensive player. Before he got hurt, Chet was holding opposing players more than 18% below their typical field goal percentage at the rim. That would be the best number of any of the 100 players who defend the most shots per game at the rim. And by the way, Chet was also defending the most shots per game at the rim. He has the best timing and verticality of any shot blocker in the NBA, is an incredibly smart defender, and can also really move. So when Chet is healthy, OKC has the best perimeter defense in the sport by far, and a guy on the very short list for best rim protector on the planet. Because of that, in the 9 games before Chet got hurt, the Thunder had a defensive rating of 97. That was 15 points better than league average. They weren't just number 1 in steals and turnovers forced, they were also number 1 in blocks per game and had by far the best rim defense in basketball, holding opposing teams 9% below their typical field goal percentage inside of 6 feet. They were impossibly good. And keep in mind, that was all without Hartenstein, without the too big look that many of us were so excited for, that would put less of a burden on Chet as a post defender and rebounder, and give OKC even more schematic versatility. And by the way, those Chet Hartenstein lineups were comically effective in 31 preseason possessions, posting a defensive rating under 55. And with 48 minutes of quality center play, OKC's only defensive issues related to their smaller lineups could just disappear. Hartenstein alone already has helped a great deal with OKC's rebounding, which has always been their biggest issue. They ranked dead last in overall rebound rate before he debuted this season, but rank a respectable 18th since. Chet getting back should help even more there. And top to bottom, the Thunder are more physical now and are tough as hell. When I think about the formulas required to guard all the league's elite offenses they might run into in the postseason, Boston, Dallas, Denver, Cleveland, OKC is expertly equipped to defend every single one of them as well or better than any other defense in the league. And at full strength, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't expect this team to stand up among the 04 Pistons and 08 Celtics as one of the defining defenses of this century. And in every category that defines elite modern defense, speed, versatility, and maintaining elite rim protection while prioritizing those things, they're the gold standard. They're also one of my favorite defenses to watch ever. You may have the ball, but they're the ones on the attack. They make defense fun, thrilling, unpredictable, full of big plays. And the scariest part, they're not going anywhere for a long time. Remember, this is the youngest team in the league, and every single important piece on the roster besides Caruso is locked up through at least next season. I will continue to say this. No team has been better positioned for a dynastic run since the Warriors circa 2015, and I don't think the Thunder have any intention of waiting to get that run started.